I still feel like there's still certain things where I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense still. Where it's like, for example, what did Steve Rogers actually do to the Infinity Stones? Like, did it still mess something up? Could that scene itself still come back around full circle and be like, hey, some certain things are still kind of messed up, and Steve may have not brought everything back to its very point in time. All right? Because all we know, right, at the end of the day, they can write it to say he did go back in time and put all the stones back, but to the viewer's eye, we did not see what he actually did. All we saw at the very end is that he went back to Peggy. Right?
Right.
Was that all he was focused on? Because let's say, for example, right, we could theorize as much as we can. So I'm gonna theorize this. What if, for example, he has all the stones still? Let's just say he has all the stones still. He went back to that point in time, straight to Peggy, because he knew what he did was already done. Right? Because was there a point in time where Bruce explained that to him? Where, hey, if we don't bring all these back as to that very specific point, this is what it could cause, right? Because the only one who explained that to Bruce was the Ancient One. Did Bruce at any point in time explain that to the other Avengers? Hey, if we don't bring this stuff back, this is what could happen.
Well, yeah, he said that at the end of Endgame, before Steve was going down. He's like, return the stones to the exact moments and then come back.
Okay.
So it's just weird to me the way they write these things, because they kind of like don't follow their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
And they could say, oh, the Avengers were meant to do that and whatnot, or Steve Rogers was meant to, stay with Peggy after he returned the stones. I think it's pretty stupid. I think it's just a lazy way to write out Steve Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it's that setting up for something else. Like, are they saying it's supposed to happen, right? Are they saying it's supposed to happen so that way Loki doesn't get a hold of what's supposed to come? Because that's just a file that Loki's just not supposed to know about? Because the TVA was hiding everything. Like,
yeah.
Now Loki knows exactly how the story is supposed to go, because now he's this god of stories.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I always thought, so there's this comic line where Steve Rogers is actually gone in the comics, and that's when Sam Wilson takes up the mantle, or it was Bucky first, and then Sam Wilson.
Yeah, kind of like how they did with Winter Soldier in them. It was like, who's gonna take what?
Right. So what happened was, in that storyline, I think Steve went to a different dimension, and he got stuck there for a while, and he ended up coming back as actually like an older Steve Rogers, but not old. Just he had lighter hair, whatnot. You could tell he's old, and he had and he would rock his Winter Soldier suit, the suit that he had,
like newly retired Steve Rogers.
Right. So, which means he was gone for a while, because Steve Rogers is technically supposed to age very slow. So wherever dimension he was in, to him, he was gone for years and years and years. So,
so does that apply, like with the slow aging process, like you said? Does that apply to the MCU Steve Rogers?
That's where I'm unsure. Because so right now the only reason why he is the way he is because he was frozen. So
he was preserved.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but the Super Soldier Serum does apply a de-aging effect, but not as not as serious as like Wolverine's. Like Wolverine is able to look like himself for like centuries until the comics writ that he can just get old out of nowhere.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's like 90.
Right. Yeah, in that storyline, he's in a different dimension. He comes back, and now there's 3 Captain Americas. You got the Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson, and then Steve Rogers. I think they should have went with that instead. But they also could kind of write out that Steve was a Skrull or something like that, but then it would kind of like ruin their happy ending with Endgame.
And also that would leave a big plot hole in Secret Wars, because Steve never popped up. ever again. Like when the Skrulls that took over certain people like Rhodey and all them, wouldn't we have saw Steve Rogers as well?
That's true. Unless that scroll was Steve Rogers, then it only went back to the past.
Mm.
Or the scroll that was Steve Rogers, like, aged was able to age himself up or something like that, and then, give the shield to Sam
Mm.
Wilson.
Okay.
But yeah,
Oh,
again, those are
oh
all like
shit.
stuff.
Yeah, that kind of raises the question a little bit. So Nick Fury came back, right?
Mm.
When the blip happened because he was blipped. Nick Fury came back, right? Also, I was watching it with Daryl, and Daryl actually pointed something out. When what's it called? When Nebula and War Machine, Rhodey, were on Morag in 2014, there was a moment where they had Nebula had said to Rhodey when she had got the, I don't know what stone they were getting in 2014. Was it like the Power Stone or something? They were getting an Infinity Stone, right? She gave him the stone and said, "I wasn't always like this." And then he said, "I wasn't always like this too, but we work with what we got." And when Secret Invasions came out, they said, like, a lot of people were speculating, and I think it ended up being confirmed. I don't know, that Rhodey has been a squirrel since Civil War, right? So,
Yeah, something like that, which was kind of dumb.
so if that's the case, if we're gonna go with that, right? Was Captain America, you know, talking to one of the scrolls or whatever, and was like, "Hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I am gonna go back in the past, and I want you to give them this. This is what I want to be done. I want you to give them this, and I want no way of any of them coming to try and find me because I want to be at peace." Is that how it kind of went? Because we're also talking about if they're trying to keep the de-aging thing, you know, still accurate to what the comics say about the super soldier serum, could that have just been his plan?
I don't know.
Because there's no
Because
interactions with him with scrolls, so it's kind of why it's a far-fetched theory.
yeah, but in Secret Invasion, Nick Fury did say after you know, the battle in Endgame that he set out a team to recover any samples or whatever of the Avengers' DNAs and whatnot, or like just all the superpowered people that were in
Mm-hmm.
that fight. Um, so I mean, because Nick Fury was utilizing a lot of the scrolls. They were part of his like teams, his shield teams and whatnot, and what.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have sent out some, and then like some rogue agents that he didn't know about, and then one of what I think is that one of them took over Rhodey in those moments.
The rogue agent, the one that ended up being on,
Yeah, not Civil War, because then that ruins a lot of things in between that.
yeah.
Um,
The fact that
but
that's still a thing where they're saying Rhodey has been one since Civil War, it still kind of messes up Civil War in a way.
yeah,
But like you were saying,
yeah. So I think whatever team it was probably Skrulls. Obviously, they'd be in human form, but
mm,
um, I think when they went to go recover samples and whatnot, I think one of them that was working with Gravik,
mm,
uh, maybe, you know, took over Rhodey or kidnapped Rhodey, took Rhodey,
mm,
um, and they kind of like just filled it in his spot or whatever.
mm.
Um,
Because they had been on Earth for a while,
yeah,
because what they were harvesting, I guess you could say, I think that's the right word, like harvesting the scrolls since like before Fury lost his eye.
right.
So that community's been there for a while. So it also kind of raises the question of like, since they were there for a while and those other rogue agents that worked with Gravik, eventually have taken over more than just Rhodey. You know,
Yeah,
because
right.
at the end of the day, they're still defending a home, right? If they're trying to defend a home, then they're gonna side with the Avengers and be like, all right, if I'm, let's say for example, I am Steve Rogers, right? I'm a Skrull that is Steve Rogers. I gotta do what I gotta do in order to, protect Earth because it's the only home that people have, right? So, I I don't know. It just seems a little far fetched when you add scrolls into it because it also kind of confuses the timeline as well. Because it like Secret Invasions didn't really explain too much of like how much the scrolls have affected, being a part of human activities, happening on Earth. That's why I wish they didn't do Secret Wars like a show. If they were gonna do a show, it needs to be a long show, and also on top of that, if they don't want to go through a show, it needs to be a well thought out movie.
Right. I feel like Secret Invasion was either too soon or too late of a story because they play like a huge role in the comics, dude. Like it's
Yeah,
like they take over, the Avengers, they manipulate so many people, so many heroes, and it's like the way they did Secret Invasion was very it was just dry, it was boring.
yeah.
It wasn't as exciting. Like they try to make it like this like serious thriller and like it wasn't really all that much. It was just and then the ending it was like
Very stupid.
very rushed as well.
Yeah, because Gaia has Super Scroll powers basically,
Yeah,
but
but
on
both of them had Super Scroll powers and then the Super Scroll just dies
yeah, but
in
I
one
thought
episode. So
the Super Scroll is supposed to be damn near an Avengers level threat, right?
right.
But Nick Fury resolves the problem, and he's just a human. Doesn't that kind of like downplay how powerful these scrolls are, or how serious the Secret Invasion situation is supposed to be? Because it's like if you really think about it, damn near almost everything just happened in the one area that Graphic was controlling, right?
Mhm.
We didn't hear
Yeah.
much shit going on in Earth. I don't even think one time they went to New York,
No.
right? I don't even think one time they went outside of the area that they're supposed to. Oh, that the Graphic was harvesting his, people. So it's like that's another big story that they kind of messed up on. Civil War is actually supposed to drag on a little bit longer, but they crammed it all into
Right.
one movie. Granted, it's an amazing movie still. I still watch it from time to time.
Hmm.
But it's like for those certain situations that happen in the comics, it's like if you really want to touch that story, there has to be a plan of attack to touch that story because they did the same thing with Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron wasn't really supposed to be one movie, and he's just done. Did they do a good job on it? Yeah, they still did a very good job on giving us the Age of Ultron movie, right? But at the end of the day, if we really break down what was the point of the Age of Ultron movie? Seriously. Like, how did it transition from, all right, this is still has to do with the Infinity Stones? Besides, the Mind Stone obviously being, what keeps Vision alive. That could have
So
been explained in a whole nother movie besides adding a big character, a big antagonist like Ultron.
yeah, but they kind of needed Ultron for Vision. So like you couldn't make Vision without having Ultron.
Hmm.
But the thing is too in the comics, Ultron is actually created by Hank Pym and not Tony Stark. But it still works out the same way because Tony Stark's just he's a genius. So it's
Right.
not really like something that's like out of character.
Hmm.
So
Which
and
that's
then
what it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like, it's still done correctly, right?
right.
Like even though Age of Ultron was cut, like the situation was cut down to just one movie, it still served somewhat of a purpose, which was having Vision, all right, how the Mind Stone came to be, and how Vision plays a part in the Infinity Saga, right? What I'm saying is that for Secret Invasions and for Civil War, right?
Hmm.
How can that be cut so short when for people that know Marvel, for people that have read up on, these events that happen in the Marvel universe, why is everything being so condensed in certain situations? Like the Civil War situation dragged on for how long? Probably years, right?
Yeah.
And
I think Secret Invasion should have been one of those things where it was like a 3-part series or something like that.
or 3 seasons.
Something. I mean, I feel like it was just a wasted rush story just to get the name of the storyline, out there. It's like, oh, we got this big storyline that everybody knows about, and we're gonna make a adaptation of it. And it's like it was just not.
Right. And well, also, like, and this is kind of going outside of, talking about comic book lore. This goes down to kind of Disney and Marvel's business move right here. So, how many Marvel shows have 2 seasons?
None. Just Loki.
Just Loki, right?
And What If.
And What If. But What If is kind of its own separate thing from all the shows. So Loki is the only one who gets 2 seasons because it has to do with progressing that story, right?
Mhm.
Which is progressing the multiverse saga, which top tier. So this is what's confusing me as well. How many Secret Invasion's got 6 episodes?
Mhm.
Daredevil gets 22 or 18. How many does he get? He gets over 15 episodes.
Yeah.
Why does a show like Daredevil, right? Daredevil's an amazing show. This is not me bashing on Daredevil. This is not me saying that like Daredevil's a bad show, right? And that it doesn't deserve to have its to continue his story. Like, this is not me saying that. This is me saying for something like Secret Invasions, right? Are they saying that Secret Invasions is less important than Daredevil? Right? Which is why Daredevil is getting 18 episodes, and something as big as Secret Invasions is supposed to be is getting 6 episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what their game plan ever is. It's fucking stupid.
Like, if you're gonna make a show like Secret Invasions, right? If you're going to attempt something like that, then you have to sacrifice something like Daredevil. Giving Daredevil 18 episodes, it's like he must have to do some crazy shit during